Real estate is nearly always in the headlines. It's either booming or it's a bust. There doesn't seem to be any nuance anymore. There certainly never seems to be a balanced market. The idea of a normal property market, it just seems to be something of yesterday. But the fact is, sometimes there is a normal property market, regardless of what the headlines are saying. What does a normal market look like? Because sure, markets do go up and then they do go down. And then in the middle somewhere is transitional period. And quite often just long periods of time where the market doesn't do much at all. Some markets are more volatile than others. Look at Sydney and Melbourne. You do see rather rapid gains and then you'll see things come off and then you'll see them level off. Other locations might be a little bit more placid in their behaviour. But the thing is, a normal market happens quite often despite what the headlines say, and I guess what you need to know is how to recognise one. But the fact is, despite what the headlines say, a normal market does exist every now and then. So what is a normal market? A normal market is really when there's sort of relatively well-matched buyers to sellers. And what I mean by that is that an A-grade property or a real cracker, that will always get buyers flocking to it. Like in a hot market, yeah, sure, everything goes crazy. But in a normal market, only the A-grade properties go crazy. And the B-grade properties, there's something a bit wrong with it. The people's second choice. They'll find a buyer too, but they won't find as many buyers. You certainly won't see as much competition, and they won't romp out the door at auction, right? A lot of those will probably sell prior because the agent will find that one buyer and then nail their feet to the floor. The C-grade property, stuff on main roads, stuff on really awkward blocks, stuff that is dark, all the sort of things that people tend not to want. They'll go for it in a hot market because they're panicked and they'll basically fight over everything. But in a normal market, that C-grade stuff, that actually gets the attention it deserves, i.e. it needs to sell at a lower price in order to compensate somebody for the negatives that it has. So that's a normal market, basically where things chug along, you don't see this rapid price growth, but in that market you'll see some properties will fall in value because no one's interested in them anymore, and other properties will continue to rise in value because they are always going to be in demand because they're real crackers. But when the market is transitioning from being a hot market to a normal market, we call that a transitional market. That's pretty clever. In a transitional market, you will see that some vendors are out of step with the market in terms of their price expectations. And what that means is that if they aren't really motivated to sell, they will sit there overpriced for a long period of time. Sometimes the agents will give up and they'll actually just hand back the keys, say, you know what, I can't sell it because you won't meet the market. Other times you'll see properties go to auction and pass in with a really high vendor bid. And it's like these guys just haven't got a clue. They haven't been noticing what's been going on in the marketplace. You will see a higher level of properties withdrawn from market, and I guess agents being a bit frustrated with the whole thing. And on that, inexperienced sales agents don't really know how to deal with a sudden change in market dynamic. I remember when I first started in sales back in 2001, it was a hot market, and at the end of that year, spring brought lots of stock onto the market and things slowed down. I suddenly thought, oh my God, these properties aren't going to sell. Now I remember my principal coaching me through this. This is cyclical, there's seasonality, there's all sorts of things that go on in the market. I had good guidance, but some of these young cowboys, they've got nobody guiding them. They are knee-jerking all over the place. Some of their social posts have been downright irresponsible, saying that vendors need to sell now because prices are about to plummet with rising interest rates. They actually don't know what they're talking about. And anyone who's that sort of knee-jerky, well, they haven't been through a cycle. They don't even understand how these things work. They should be out of the business. Another thing that even experienced agents will do in a transitional market is that they suddenly stop giving price guides. Now, I sort of get why they do this, because at the end of the day, buyers are adding a certain amount of money to every guide that an agent gives. And so the agent doesn't want the buyer to add too much money to their guide because then they'll walk away and they won't be interested in the property. It's a delicate art. But actually refusing to give price guides, that's, I think, a ridiculously knee-jerky reaction. Agents have a responsibility responsibility to give some guidance to buyers, in my opinion. And there is legislation around how they do that, but let's face it, we all know that they want to underquote, and we also know that buyers play a part in this game, which is why they need to underquote. Okay, that said, refusing to give a price guide, in my opinion, is ridiculous. They have put something on the agency agreement. They have told the vendor to expect something. Be honest, tell buyers what you've told the vendor. Explain it differently. Try something different. If you're too scared to get it wrong, I don't know, try honesty. That'd be novel. I think that we need more truth, transparency and trust in the whole real estate industry. And if you agree or if you disagree, join the conversation, leave a comment.